and welcome to Queer as Pop, the podcast where we discuss all things queer and how they happen to intersect with pop culture, politics, and all of the top headlines. Maddie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I did some cardio this evening and trying to keep myself active and alive. I just read France was shutting down again due to Corona, so it doesn't look like the situation is getting better anytime soon. So I'm doing everything I can to just keep my spirits up. What about you?
Yeah, it's a pretty bleak outlook when you both have the United States and Europe having very massive spikes right now. It's sort of make you just wonder like, gosh darn it, when will this ever come to a close?
Yeah, it's been really, really annoying seeing how this just keeps on coming back for some fucking reason, and it doesn't seem like there's any way to stop it, despite people shutting their countries down or not.
Yeah, I have to feel like in the United States we have such a mishmash of policies in different states that have allowed the virus to really perpetuate and stay more active than it ever should have. So it's really frustrating to kind of see certain states and certain communities doing a great job and then others really struggling and just keeping those numbers, really terrifyingly high.
Yeah. But I think that we're gonna try to keep ourselves positive and have a positive outlook anyways, and we're definitely gonna keep our spirits up because we're gonna focus a little bit about our experiences with social media and specifically YouTube because our guest today is a pretty huge YouTuber.
I admire someone that is so tenacious at content creation where they're able to curate such a large audience because that doesn't happen by chance. I mean, this person really has to put in the work, and the fact that they bring such a unique, fresh perspective is always inspiring to me as a content creator of myself, like for myself. So, like, I admire anyone that's able to put themselves out there and just kind of grow in a really great audience organically.
Yeah. Can I ask you when it was the first time that you experienced YouTube and when you started to realize yourself, like, this is gonna become something huge?
You know, I man, how long has it been since I've been watching random videos on YouTube? It's been years upon years upon years, well before YouTube was actually owned by Google. But I just think that it's one of those ways in which you were able to capture viral content that you always talked about with your friends that I knew wasn't going away. That just it felt so real and authentic because these videos weren't highly produced. They were just people being silly and capturing, candid moments that felt very intimate in really fun ways. So yeah, I fell in love with YouTube almost immediately because it just felt relatable in terms of content versus something you'd find on television.
Yeah. Was there anyone specifically that you followed back in the day?
I think my tastes have evolved so much that I don't think I would say I've been following someone in particular for a very long time, but I can tell you that my most common types of videos that tend to always show up in any recommendation are one, cooking videos. So anything cooking or baking, you can be guaranteed it's going to be shown to me immediately, and two is going to be rescue videos of cats and dogs. Like the algorithm has me down pat. They know that the minute another video for another rescued kitten or dog comes up, they're just shoving it right in my direction so that I can like have a little bit of an internal cry.
Yeah, yeah. I think for me it was when I realized that YouTube was going to become something huge. I think it was when back in the day when there was this comedian Liam Kyle Sullivan, I believe his name was, and he did this character Kelly, and those videos back in the day that were hilarious. I think that was when I started to realize that this is something that actually can make people really famous and successful just by uploading content on YouTube.
Did you ever want to be sort of a YouTuber? Did you ever want to produce content that you were hoping one day would become viral and like just lift you into the stratosphere?
I think back in the day I probably wanted to, but looking at how YouTube has evolved, I don't think that I could ever achieve something like that today. And I don't really know exactly what kind of content I would like to produce because I have so many interests and I'm like all over the place. So I don't really know where would I start basically.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I could appreciate that mindset of like asking yourself that hard question of what is my angle? Like how would I portray myself
Yeah.
or a piece of myself that people would find interesting enough to kind of come back to or even discover and want to stick around?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any people on YouTube that you yourself look at today that you would actually recommend to our listeners?
Yeah. So Okay, so this is again in the vein of cooking. Sola, who was up until recently with Bon Appetit doing a lot of their BA test kitchen videos. She's moved over to the Binging with Babish YouTube universes for content on his channel, and I love her to death. She is so creative, so smart, so talented, so hilarious. I always have such a giant smile on my face whenever I'm watching anything that has her face in it.
Yeah, I used to watch Bon Appetit back in the days myself, and I'm a huge fan of cooking videos as well. But I think my favorite right now is probably Marion's cooking. I don't know if you know about her.
I don't. What tell me more.
She creates these amazing, amazing videos, cooking videos that are almost like the way she films it and the way she talks about food, it's almost like
Oh,
porn.
I love that.
So it's like really, so it's really, really interesting. She creates a lot of Asian inspired food. It's just amazing content. And I think I've always been a huge fan of the Try Guys ever since they were on BuzzFeed.
Yeah, I do like watching the Try Guy videos as well, so I can absolutely relate on that one.
Yeah. So, and the last one that I've been really into, especially lately, considering that I've seen that she started out to upload her content again, is actually our guest for today, which is Emilia Fart.
Ooh.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time for our amazing guest to make her appearance. She's a Canadian YouTuber with over 750,000 followers, who rose to fame through her vlogs, ranging from poetic and hilarious comedy stunts to vocal rebellion against social structures, as well as raw discussions about mental health. She created a unique space on the platform where love, laughter, creativity, and self expression took center stage over artificial presentation. Emilia Fart, thank you so much for joining us. How are you
Thank you for
doing?
having me. That was so beautiful. That was very heartwarming.
thank,
Thank you.
thank you.
He
I'm
does
so
have a way
honored to
with
be here.
words.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Oh, thank you. How are you feeling? How are you doing during these crazy times?
I'm feeling good, I think, like as good as can be, I think. Like, of course, like periodic breakdowns, but that's just like, you know, expected.
I mean, I feel that's like everyone today. We're
Exactly.
all going through it with COVID and
Yeah.
yeah, and Trump. You guys, as Canadians, you're pretty close to that mess as well.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like, but even before any of this, there was always periodic, there's always something to break down over.
Yeah,
So, and that's a welcome, I don't know, it's nice to cry.
yeah. I mean, it is nice. I feel I want to start to talk about your career on YouTube and your videos. And I have to say they're both inspiring and hilarious because you are completely raw and holding nothing back in the way you produce your content. So I wanted to ask you what motivated you to start uploading videos on YouTube and what was the inspiration behind your creative approach?
Um, well, I knew I always wanted to do something in the realm of like entertaining where I could be creative and also like get attention at the same time. Like that's just like something my soul craves on a very deep, very pathological level. But
Yeah.
I never really I just had all these thoughts that I was why I couldn't do it. I was too lazy, I was too whatever, I was, Um and then through the process of grieving my dad, like that kind of like broke me as a person completely. So I had to rebuild myself.
Yeah.
Um, and it was through that grieving and through like therapy and whatever, I just kind of restructured my life and the way that I thought about reality and myself. And that led me to
Yeah.
feel comfortable enough to, and I had been watching YouTube for a long time and it really like comforted me in a time when I needed it. And then I was like brave enough to try basically, or even admit that I wanted to try. And then it felt so, I loved it.
Yeah. Would you say that YouTube contributed to shaping your whole aesthetic and personality as well along the way?
I think, I don't know if watching YouTube did. I think showed me that there was this potential to have a job where your creative expression is sustaining you, which is that's a beyond dream come true. But then also that um, you can be in control of your time, of what you put out. Like you can just, um, and that is so appealing. Um, so yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about the thing that you said earlier about this need for attention. So I have a background as a psychologist, and I was wondering if I could ask you, has that need for attention ever been, how should I put it, like negative for you, or?
I think that there's been times when I've been younger, um, where the way that I'll channel um, my instincts, like I have like what I refer to sometimes as Machiavellian instincts, in that um, that's why the game of social media would make a lot of sense to me. Um, and my instincts to like be seen and to be heard could were toxic at points when I was younger. Um, but I'm the older I get, and the more I experience, the more I feel I get my footing on what feels good to me, how I can channel the things that could be um, toxic or gnarly, not take them out on people, but like channel them in a way that could do some good. And that's what I'm like trying to um, point myself towards the more I move forward.
Yeah. Have you ever had any regrets putting yourself out there, or any backlash that shaped you or motivated you to look at social media and YouTube fame in a different way than when you started out?
Yeah, I think like I obviously, when you do anything on the internet, you get some kind of, you get a varied response. So you're going to get some hate, you're going to get trolls like telling you they want you to die, and especially as like a fat woman, like when
Yeah.
you put yourself out there, people are just going to automatically hate you for that. Um, but it wasn't necessarily any kind of backlash that I received from an audience, but I lived so publicly and so openly on YouTube, and it felt so right at the time. But as I started evolving, becoming more comfortable, like dating women, um, not that I was
Yeah.
ever dating men on YouTube, but I started like coming to terms with my sexuality in a more honest way and like processing traumas and shit. Um, and when I started dating, I realized I can't. I don't. For me, there wasn't a healthy way for me to be as completely open as I was and date. And I did do it previously, being completely open. I would date on camera, um, and I realized that it's this is not the way to this is not the way to do it. So I started. I've really changed the way that I put my life out there, um, and so far it's feeling good.
Yeah, you know, I love a little bit what you're talking about here, and I would love to dig a little bit more because you do talk about the struggles of, having a love life and the exposure you give your audience to that. So with the identity of being queer and also marrying that with your person on YouTube, how does that like affected you both professionally and personally? Like, how did you sort of tease out that transition you decided to make where you're making it more honest to yourself?
Um, so when I started dating, I had there was a whole process where I would go to Los Angeles because that's what made sense to me. You have to go to Los Angeles and then you assimilate with other YouTubers, and like this is the game of YouTube, and this is how you grow and make yourself more established. So I kept going to Los Angeles and doing this and meeting other YouTubers and blah blah blah. But the more that I did it, the more that I was like, I don't think that this something about this does not feel right for me. Um, and eh, I'm still processing why. Like I don't want to blame other people. I don't want to blame a place necessarily, though I do both things repeatedly. But I think at the core of it, uh, it just wasn't right for me. It's not the path I'm supposed to go down. So when I stopped doing that, I started changing um, my content from being so personal open to a little bit different. But even then, it wasn't feeling authentic. Just something about the way that I was presenting myself and creating, it just wasn't. genuine to who I was anymore. It was so genuine at the time. And I can look back on stuff and be like, yeah, that was really real, and I can appreciate it for what it was, but I've changed now. And the way that what I want to make, the direction I want to go in, what I like need to put out into the world is different now. Um, so I took a break from YouTube for I think like 5 months or so, and now coming back, I'm finding my footing as to what I like. What do I want to share about my relationship? What do I want to share about my life? Like, what's the why am I making this, and what do I want to do? So I'm just thinking about that, still finding my footing, and that's that.
I have noticed, watching your videos both pre break, that break that you took, and then post, I do notice a more poetic, somber, nuanced, thematic element that kind of weaves through each of your videos, and they're beautiful, and I love them so much. So, with that in mind, are you, as much as you're expressing both your inner self, do you look at these videos as ways to help other people connect to you on an awareness of how you look at your mental health and how you want to be expressing yourself moving forward?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, 100%. I think like um, the thing I think I want to do most in my life is like, if I think back to when I was like in middle school, um, how trapped I felt and how horrible I felt about myself, which I think is like, that's how middle schoolers are going to feel. Um, but like, like back then, I didn't see any like fat, weird woman doing whatever she wanted and feeling okay about it. You know what I mean? Like, and a gay one at that. Like, um, so what I really want to do more than anything else is make art that I put as much soul and meaning into as possible, that can reach as many people as possible, and hopefully find people scattered around the world that are feeling like gnarly or wrong in some way, like who they are on some level is wrong, and that they have to trap themselves. And hopefully, through whatever art I put out, that could plant some kind of seed in them that would help them, make them feel more free and make them feel like who they are and their instincts are like right. And um, the more that they know that, um, the more good they'll do in the world. You know what I mean? Like just like a ripple of coolness could potentially be set out into the world.
When you're talking about the history you had with YouTube and the future of your career on this platform, you're telling me that you're still processing it. What are the alternatives that you're looking at right now?
Well, I've started an OnlyFans which is my like online diary basically, um, where I'm completely unfiltered. I showed my neck for the first time in 10 years, um, because like I just feel safer there, knowing that I'm not like, yeah, anyone could come, though there's a paywall. So people who are there in essence are OnlyFans. Um, so, um, and it feels good to have a place that's like, because I still have that like kind of emotional exhibitionist instinct where I want to be completely unedited and raw, but I don't feel comfortable inviting um, every turd in the world into my life and to comment and to have an opinion, um, in the same way that I did. So, so yeah, that's something that I'm doing now.
Is there anything you remember from your time on YouTube that has been more traumatic or more upsetting to you, that has made you feel like I don't want to do this anymore? This is just destructive and people's opinions are starting to shape me in a negative way.
Yeah, I think it more so than the like opinions or reaction. It was more so immersing myself in the social media world. Like, um, when I would visit Los Angeles and I would hang out with these people, it's not necessarily that anyone was like any of these social media people were cruel or was, but I think just the feeling of understanding that like relevance is a currency, and it's a very direct currency, and it's not directly talked about, but it's very much felt. And that just experiencing that made me realize, like, okay, I my intention with my life isn't, I love attention, and I love that the game of YouTube was very fun before I felt it be so real, because in my regular life, nobody cares about anything that I do, like not in a bad way, in a very healthy way. They're not interested in this game. When I experience people who are very interested in the game and were very driven by money and fame, um, not that I don't like those things, because I do, but that's not, like, I want to make art. I really, really want to make meaningful art that does good. And that is my, what I want to do more than anything. And I think I realized that I don't think that YouTube or the way that I was, the trajectory of my life and the things that I really wanted, I realized that that's not in line with the fact that I want to make art that does some good and has meaning. Um, so that's why I took the break and I regrouped, because I'm like, okay, I don't think this will, it's not what I thought it was, or something, or I changed, or I don't know. But yeah, I almost was like, I just want to stop, and um, one day I'm sure I will. Everything will change at some point. Um, but but I also think at the same time, like, reality is pliable and things are what you make of it. So um, I'm not necessarily playing the same game I was. I'm not catering to an algorithm. I'm not catering to an audience at all. Um, but I know that I'm starting to find a way to put out stuff that I has the energy that I want to see in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
So like
yeah.
with this connective thread of creativity and art that you're looking to create and are putting out there, what sorts of engagement do you like to experience from a person that's watching a video, and like where it goes beyond just that watching of the video? Like, are there ways that you've connected with viewers and followers and fans who that have been meaningful to you, or that you look forward to cultivating moving forward?
Yeah, I think that, and the people who are watching my videos now, um, because I'm not catering to the algorithm the same way, it's not like, it's not necessarily being shown in the suggested bar to a bunch of people who, like, just will not care to even attempt to understand what I'm trying to do. So um, the people who comment and are so obviously very intelligent and make a thoughtful message, like, it really is, like, so heartwarming. Um, though I also think that reading comments isn't necessarily always the healthiest thing. But I also have found that in opening this OnlyFans, I've, like, started doing, not to just, like, promo my OnlyFans constantly, but I think that I've been able to, like, we've done Zoom calls together where I get to, like, meet people, and um, the most comforting thing is just to realize that, like, okay, um, like, you're so much less alone than you think. That's something that I've really found is, like, okay, wait, there's all these people, and we can, like, understand each other's spark. We can understand each other, like, how we want to build our lives, and it can life can feel very isolating. You can feel very alone, but it's so comforting to understand that we're really, really not that alone.
I wanted to pick up on talking a little bit about your sexuality and, in general, the LGBTQIA plus community. How do you see your position in it, and are there aspects of the community where you feel more inclusive than others?
Um, well, my coming out process has been, like, pretty um, repressed, I would say. Like, I came out at 18 to, like, my siblings and my friends, but then I went back in the closet and dated a guy for 5 years and didn't come out to my parents. Um, yeah, and then after dating the guy, I spent 5 years not dating anyone, because I was like, okay, this is what relationships are. I don't want it because it's just dry, it's just for show. Like I only want to date someone that I really care about. But I also, this is what I would say up front, but I was processing like accepting myself, accepting my attraction to women, accepting these like times that I've accidentally fallen in love with my straight friends. And so it wasn't until the past year, couple years, 2 years, that I started to kind of put myself into that world. Um, and I didn't enter like a queer space in my city or in LA, which is the places that I was dating. I didn't enter them in the like I don't drink, so I don't really go to bars, and to be honest, I don't do anything. I like to stay home and like go to the park by myself. So
Yeah.
but I did find a way to like date and meet people, and now I have a girlfriend who's like just kind of like a little angel. So
That's
um,
lovely. Are you like? Do you have like a shared space with her online as well, or is this something that you want to keep private for the future, going forward with whatever you want to create online and how you want to portray yourself in the future?
yeah, I'm more protective of our relationship than
Yeah,
I probably would have been in the past. But we do. I include her in my YouTube videos when it feels right, but not in a
yeah.
very overt way. Just in a um, like just in a quiet way, I would say. And then we do like we're pretty open on OnlyFans. We just film stuff if we
I
feel
love that.
hyper
I love
or
that.
we're in
Yeah.
the mood or something.
Yeah.
But just like answering questions and
That's great. That's great. We are gonna ask you one more question before we head out over to our lightning round, and that is, where can people find you? Is there anything you want to plug for our listeners? That any of the projects that you have going on in the future?
well, you can find me at youtube.com/Emilia Fart, and that's where I post videos. Now, currently, I just post videos when I feel inspired. Um, and you can find me on Instagram slash at Emilia Farts and Twitter at Emilia Fart, and also onlyfans.com/slash Emilia Fart.
That's
And yeah,
great.
I love that. I love that.
All right, so we are gonna head over to the lightning round now, and before we start, I want to ask you if you are ready for the
I'm
questions.
ready. Okay, I gotta like
All right,
slap
great.
myself to get like hyper, like lightning energy.
It's fine. If you want to, you can elaborate a little bit, but it's completely up to you. So the first question is, worst place you've ever visited?
Los Angeles. And that's not to shade the whole city or anything. It's just to say my experience there was in retrospect is lame, but the beach is very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I lived in
Yeah.
LA for a long time, and I can totally understand. It's a love-hate relationship. There's parts of it that you can look back on adoringly, but then there are parts you're like, "I never need to experience that ever again."
100%. Yeah. It's like I think there's pockets. Like it was just like my like, I don't know. But what anyways, blah blah blah. Barf.
Yeah. All right. First celebrity crush.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas, and my mom like
Oh.
had laminated a picture of him for me, so I could just like smooch him all the live long day. And in
I
retrospect, if you
love
look at him,
that so much.
if you look at him closely, he looks like a beautiful lesbian. So it is on track for my chemistry.
You were still like it was still there. It was just always there in
Oh
its
yeah,
own little way.
100%. Yeah.
Relatable content. All right. Next question. If you could travel back in time, what period would you go to?
I think like those paintings of like an old timey king who's like really fat and like eating like a big feast. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
I want to be that king, and I want to have like a like bevy of naked women around me, and we're just like eating turkey legs and like whatever.
I love it. I love
What
it.
a dream. What a dream.
All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at keeping secrets?
Like like a 4 probably. Like I can do it if need be, but like I don't want
You're
to.
like, I want to let it out. I have this information. It needs to be
Yeah,
shared.
I don't want to tell everyone, but like most people that I like,
I
I do
mean,
want
if we've learned anything from your confessions videos, I mean, yeah, secrets sometimes are just not best kept inside, right?
exactly. I think secrets are made to be Why do we need to have secrets? Why do we need to be mysterious? Why is being mysterious something to be coveted? I question that.
Fair
True.
enough. Fair enough. I can appreciate that.
True. Yeah.
Yeah,
If you were given the opportunity to fly into space, would you take it?
definitely not. I Space seems gnarly. Space does not seem cozy. I really like looking at trees. The option of not looking at trees. Also, then you have to be in a spaceship. That's very gray. I don't want to be around gray stuff. I don't know why everyone thinks that gray is cool now. I don't think gray is cool. Anyways, no, it seems not cozy. And then all your food has to be dried. That's not. I don't want that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I can appreciate that. The small details inside, the lack of color, the mundanity, the beige, the gray, yeah, all the things. All right, last question. In your opinion, what's the lamest dessert that people try to pass off as desserts?
This could be controversial, but I think any dessert with fruit in it is a no. Like, don't fruit.
Oh,
Yes, fruit.
really? I want to
Fruit
hear
is
more.
virtuous to me. Like, like obviously, if somebody says you're like, I want dessert, they're like, eat an apple. Obviously, that's pathetic. But I'm just saying, like, if you give me a pie, don't give me a fucking apple pie because it's virtuous. Fruit is virtuous, and it just don't like spoil the dessert with that. Give me like some kind of chocolate pie, some kind of like custardy pie. I just don't want fruit. I don't want it.
Well, okay, so then follow-up question to that. What's your ultimate dessert? Like you could see it and you will dig in any time of the day, no matter how full you are.
I really like cannolis, and also there's this cake that like you take like chocolate wafer cookies that are basically just Oreos without the cream in the middle, and then you layer it with whipped cream, and then you cover it in whipped cream so it's this log, and then you let it sit overnight, and then it turns into cake, and it's just like cookies and cream cake, and that's so good, and everyone should eat it.
That sounds kind of
I'm going to
incredible.
definitely try it out. All right.
You have to.
All right, Emilia. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a true pleasure to have you on. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This was just lovely.
Yeah,
This is
thank
just
you.
such a this whole podcast has a very positive energy, and just thank you for having me. I'm very honored.
Anytime. You're welcome back anytime. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. It's time for us to answer your questions. Scott, what do we have?
We got some good ones, so I really hope you're ready to be a little more honest with everybody. So our first question is, how would your parents describe what you do for a living? And this is from Arlen.
They would probably say that I'm selling drugs because I used to work as a pharmaceutical technician, at least before COVID. And before that, I was a psychologist. So, yeah.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. That's cute. That's cute.
What about you?
Um, yeah, I think if they were describing my time on Twitch, they would say I play excessively violent, strange video games while I talk to strangers about sexual innuendo all evening long. So they're probably just really concerned about my mental stability in a lot of times, but I'm okay with that.
Really? I think you're such a stable person. I could never question that.
Yeah, but if you talk to my parents, they just treat it as if I've just gone off the deep end when they shake their head and just knowingly say, I don't really care to know what you do.
All right, all right. Well, here's a question that your parents probably do not want to know about. What turns you on almost instantly? And this one is from Chase.
Okay, mom and dad, cover your ears. But no, so I think for me, the thing that turns me on almost instantly is someone that is incredibly good at kissing. Like a really good kisser is the make or break moment for me, whether I am going to be so excited for what's happening next, or a little trepidatious because I'm just really wondering how they're going to perform the rest of the evening, if you know what I mean.
All right, that's really interesting because my answer is actually the exact same.
Oh my, oh
uh,
my.
I I love a good kisser. It defines how everything else is gonna go. If you're a bad kisser, it's gonna. I know exactly what to expect. So I prefer to know that you're a good kisser. That way, I will have very high expectations on what's left to come.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. That's good to know. I love it. I love it. Well, then just keeping this sexy train going on our last question. So from Alexis, we have you ever skinny dipped with a group?
Yes, I have in Greece a couple of years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my. Please tell me more.
Well, so I was in Mykonos, which is famously known as the gay island in Greece, and I was there with a couple of friends, and we had some hookups, and we went skinny dipping as a group of five, and it was pretty interesting. But I'm gonna keep this. I'm gonna keep the rest of the story under wraps.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair
What
enough.
about you?
Absolutely. I mean, if there's a pool, there's some drinks involved, a little less clothing happens, it just happens. And I've always had a great time.
Love that. All right, now it's time for my favorite segment, and it's time to teach you Swedish, Scott.
Oh gosh. Okay. Okay. All right. Let me just try and get my brain shifted over to try and say this word correctly.
All right, so this one's gonna be a little bit trickier than the other ones, but this is the word for keyboard. I'm talking about a computer keyboard in Swedish.
Okay. Okay.
So listen closely. Tangentbord.
Say it one more time, please. Oh my gosh.
Tangentbord.
Tangentbord.
That is so cute because it sounds like a toddler trying to speak Swedish. I love that.
I mean, yeah, I was definitely stumbling over on that one, but that's cute. I love that. I love that.
I'm sorry, I gave you a really, really shitty word. Actually, it's one of the hardest words to pronounce in Swedish. Funnily enough,
Thank you. I mean, you got to challenge me every once in a while, right? Otherwise, I'll just assume it's clear seas ahead of me the entire rest of the way.
Oh, I have a lot of challenges for you. Believe me, coming up.
I'm always up for it. Always up for it.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us this week. If you want to know more about upcoming episodes and what we're up to, you can find us at Queer as Pop on Twitter or get on our website, queeraspop.com. You can find me on Twitter under the username Novakazi and Scott at The Kill Cannon. You can find Scott as Kill Cannon on Twitch if you want to join a lovely community of gamers. Thank you and see you next week, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.